What is luxury? Is it being able to afford something exclusive that others cannot? This is not just a luxury car.
Kate, that's really lovely and everything, but it's now with rain. I think everyone knows by the badge, AMG, this is going to be a very expensive, very high performance luxury Mercedes-Benz with a plug. Can we just drive it?
Yeah, all right.
What is luxury? Is it exclusive that others cannot? This is luxury.
This is the third Mercedes-Benz that we have driven.
Yeah, I believe so.
The first one was the EQS, which was a lesson in opulence. The second was the EQE, which was, honestly, I felt it was a better car than the EQS.
Yeah, I think we both agreed that it was a better car.
And then there's this. It's basically a vehicle that I think is more designed for someone who might have a family.
Yeah, it's definitely the most practical vehicle in terms of seating capacity, in terms of trunk space. It's really a vehicle that can be used in a really wide variety of contexts and make sense.
While also having a 3.2 second sprint time, 700 and some pound-feet of torque.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense in its context. I didn't say it makes sense in the general scheme of the universe. Yeah.
So it's got the full-length MBX digital screen. So I've got my own touch screen here. Right, I can press this button, power it on, and I can do pretty much everything that you can do here. But I like this. It says, please use headphones during video playback to prevent driver distraction. So I can actually watch videos on this screen while somebody else is driving. I can listen to music. I think there are some games in here that you can play as well. There are apps. There's an app store, so you can download things. You can check out the weather. You can have images displayed. And, you know, it does feel like I've got a little phone or an iPad or something similar right in front of me. You're driving in assisted mode right now, so tell me about that.
So in assisted mode, it does a pretty solid lane keep assist pretty much all of the time, even in very poor weather, which is basically how I've driven it. I haven't really got to play with the performance the way I would normally like to, because it has just been like this. But it has managed to track lanes pretty well. It doesn't wander off to the side when you go past junctions. However, it also has an auto lane change. And the auto lane change is very good when you tell it to do something. I've not really had any significant problems with that, apart from occasionally it gets halfway and then says, oh, I think not. But other than that, it's been pretty good, unless you have to be in a specific lane.
Right, so how it works is it uses its radar-assisted detection system to figure out how close you are to the car in front and if that car is travelling below the set speed that you've given it. If the answer is yes, it's travelling slower, and the car detects that there's nobody in the next lane over, it will give you like this little tiny chime and then automatically move out.
Yeah, and it's kind of random. So on the way down today, and when I was driving it before, it would suddenly decide that a car half a mile down the road was going slightly slower than it, and then it would change lane, and then it would just sit in the other lane, and you're like, maybe we didn't need to do that for another 30 seconds, maybe we didn't need to do that for another 5 minutes. The other challenge with it, and this is why I would probably end up turning it off, the automatic function for it, is that if you have an area near you where you have to be in a specific lane to exit or to take a through route, so in the town I live in, there is a place where you have to be in the left lane if you're taking the through route on the motorway, it likes to automatically go, no, we're going to go into the right-hand lane.
Right.
And if you're not with it enough, then it will do it. But also it's confusing for other drivers because it beeps and turns the indicator on at the same time pretty much. So it's not like you can be like, no, don't want you to do that. So I think that still needs a little bit of fine tuning, but otherwise I find the driver assistance package really pretty good.
And I think it's really important to note here that the technology that underpins what we're seeing from this car right now is exactly the same hardware and base level software that Mercedes-Benz is using in its Drive Pilot system. And Drive Pilot is that hands-off, fully distracted driver, level 3 assistance system that you can now use in Nevada and also in California, but only in heavy traffic. I think it speeds below 40 miles an hour if memory serves correctly. I know in parts of Germany, I think they have a slightly different set of rules for how it works, and I think it's going to be a regulatory nightmare to bring that to a nationwide deployment anywhere. But it shows you that this system definitely has the smarts to do that. And it's quite interesting that Mercedes-Benz is rolling out its driver assistance features in the way that it is, because even though it's proven that it's got level 3 capability, it's still sitting back, and for the most part you're only getting very, very competent level 2.
Yeah, and I suspect that's really more of a legislative thing, that the vehicle can do it, but it knows that it can't do it geographically.
Geographic locks.
And here we go. See, we actually need to be in that lane.
Right.
And
But it's gone, no, we're going to overtake. And it did. It gave you that blink, and then it started moving almost immediately.
Yeah.
Which doesn't give you a huge amount of time.
No.
The other criticism I have of the assistive technologies, you've got paddle shifters on the steering wheel, and you can select a different grades of regenerative braking. It has the intelligent recuperation, which I've never been a fan of.
I've grown to understand it, but I don't really trust it.
Right. You've got strong recuperation, which is what I like to set. It's basically the single pedal driving, mimicking. I wouldn't say it's true single pedal, but pretty close. The thing that I don't like, and all Mercedes-Benzes do this, is that when it brakes, the pedal moves away from you.
Yeah, and particularly in this vehicle with the brake setup that it has the carbon brakes, and they can stop you very quickly. But I find that it's quite hard to gauge exactly how much pressure I need, and it changes that pedal pressure as you're going down, which I'm sure you would get used to it. We only have the car for a limited period of time. You see, there we go again. I turned on the intelligent recuperation, and that's the thing with the intelligent recuperation, is that it stops too late for me.
Can I talk a bit about brakes? Because I had that same experience as you, and Em, our camera person, had a theory that maybe they haven't fully been bedded in yet.
I think that might be the case.
It's carbon brakes at the front, and I think regular brakes at the rear. They're
Yeah.
massive brakes. They stop the car. They can stop the car really well. But just like when we reviewed the EQE and we were like, this doesn't feel fully sorted.
Yeah.
It sometimes feels like maybe it doesn't always want to stop for you.
I would say the other thing that I do like is that it uses this light bar in quite an effective way.
Yes, it's got trans pride colours right now. I'm very, very happy about that.
Other than the trans pride colours, which are obviously Mercedes-Benz representing, when you have someone in your blind spot or if you wander across a lane marking, it will beep at you and flash the light on the appropriate side in red.
That's very, very useful. The other thing that I think we need to say well done to Mercedes for is it's really good with its driver attentiveness.
Yes, although it has that same problem that a lot of things have, which is it needs to see your eyes, which means I have to have the steering wheel about 2 inches higher than I normally would.
Yeah. So rear seat passengers get their own, climate control zones and all that. The rear seat is, I think, probably the best of any car we've driven in terms of headroom and comfort.
Oh yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
The other thing is you get buttons here. You have access to your charging button. You have access to the car button where you can do all the heads-up display and all of that good gubbins. You've got a button here to raise the suspension or not. This is all the off-road stuff. You can turn on the auto lane change and whatnot here. It's got a car wash mode, which I think is great. It turns the mirrors in. It makes sure everything is closed. I think more cars should do this because it's especially with cars that have auto sensing wipers, can be a pain in the butt. We can't do it right now, but there is a fingerprint reader. So if you want to do kind of keyless entry and just drive off, you can. There's also your controls here for the volume, and also you can turn the radio on and off, and you can turn the displays on and off, which I really like. Em got very excited and said there is this watch, IWC. Now, for those who don't know, Em is a complete and utter watch nerd. Em likes to collect watches. Unfortunately, they've got rid of a fair few of them over the years because economic factors and things, but they absolutely lost it when they saw this. They were like, oh, this is a really cool watch. Apparently it's a $7,500 watch in the real world. Head-up display, I think is probably one of the best I've seen.
Yeah, it can be customized to be really clear and simple, or to be really quite a lot of information if you want it.
And talking about information, the amount of information that you can do on this driver information system here. You can have understated, you can have navigation, you have an off-road version here, which gives you kind of your bearing and your pitch and your yaw and all that good stuff. Alternatively, you can even have the Super Sport or the track pace mode, which tells you, your G's. If I brake now, you can see that's what I'm doing. And if I accelerate, it shows you the amount of torque that you're putting to the wheels. Now, there is one thing that I've noticed about this car. It doesn't break loose very easily.
No, the traction control on this vehicle is astonishingly good. It is incredibly well behaved, even in the most miserable weather conditions, which is exactly what we have today.
Let's talk about these weird little buttons on the bottom of the steering wheel. So this is just an AMG thing, right? You can control your suspension settings, the sound it makes. This thing makes a huge amount of sound. If you set this to Sport Plus mode, I don't know if you can hear this.
We might get it off the cameras. Oh, Jesus.
That makes a lot of noise.
Yeah, and you can turn it off, so you can have it in Sport Plus without the
So this is
aggravating noise.
Yeah, and you can choose the noise it makes. This is kind of like a spaceship sound. And then you have comfort mode,
which has balanced sound where you only get sound that's really noticeable at low speed.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing that I really like is that we also have great four-wheel steering on this.
Yeah, 9 degrees, I think, at the rear.
Earlier on you were joking that it was terrible. I think considering most vehicles this size, it's actually pretty good.
I was saying it sarcastically. That rear wheel steering makes this vehicle feel about 2/3 the size that it actually is. In cities, you can drive it in a way that you just can't with cars this size normally. You can get into spaces that you wouldn't normally with a vehicle this size. So it's actually, it is really pleasant to have that feature. And I said this before with was it the EQE that we had before, that I felt that it worked better than in the EQS, and I think it still does.
Yeah.
I feel like the EQS, however it was configured, whether it's the wheelbase of that car, it didn't quite work as well as it does with this one.
Now, let's demonstrate the raising here. That's very useful, and it remembers, just like a Tesla does.
Yeah, it does a geo-positioning memory, which is, I mean, kind of what you expect at this price point, but it's also, I think, really telling that Mercedes-Benz and Mercedes-AMG in this case really do seem to be getting it right. A lot of the automakers, I think, are focusing on lots of, shall we say, they've lost their way because they feel the technology is the thing that they can push. Whereas Mercedes-Benz, Mercedes-AMG, they are still really focusing on the driving experience. And while they're, you know, this is a lot of ridiculous gadgetry, the main thing that you get is things that make your driving experience better as a driver.
There are a couple of things, though, from the technology point of view that they absolutely get wrong. So one of them is the speed limit. This car has been maintaining that the speed limit through here is 25 miles an hour. And I think it is in certain parts, but it's not 25 miles an hour everywhere. It's not like a blanket 25 miles an hour.
And it does sometimes misread signs, so particularly where you have a sign telling you that the speed limit changes at some point in the future, then it assumes that's happened there. That can be kind of disconcerting, particularly if you're on the freeway and you suddenly drop from 70 to 50 unexpectedly. Other people don't expect you to do that. You don't expect it to happen. So I think that there are some kinks there to work out. Hopefully they'll get fixed in over-the-air updates.
This car is really good.
This car is upsettingly good. I mean, I keep saying this, I've said this to you several times since I've had it, that I really, really didn't want to like it because I like affordable, utilitarian transport. But this car is just so good at all the things that it does.
Yeah.
And it does all the things.
Yeah, I mean, this is a car that I think I could quite confidently imagine living in Switzerland up the Alps, and would get you to and from wherever you needed to go with nary a problem, regardless if there was snow. If you had to go over a gravel trail, we drove up a gravel trail to get to this filming location, and it's really, really good at it. It's very comfortable inside, has some of the best rear headroom of any electric SUV we've driven. In fact, I think it probably has the best rear headroom.
And it has also a lot of legroom back there.
It really does.
It's astonishing sitting in the back of it, given the size of the vehicle, how much trunk space you get, how much rear legroom you get, and how decent the front legroom is.
Interestingly too, the rear seats, unlike a lot of EVs, don't feel like you're sitting on top of the battery pack, which is a complaint I have of a lot of EVs. That, you know, the rear seat is a little bit higher so that they could squeeze in a little extra battery space. This is not a small car, obviously. And while some people may call this mid-size, I'm going to call it a full size. It's smaller than the EQS SUV, but the EQE SUV isn't exactly small.
No, this is by no means a small vehicle.
And you add the AMG badge, you get all of that performance as well. That's why this costs upwards of 120 grand with all the option boxes ticked that this car has. It's 120 grand.
Yeah, and I think whenever I look at price tags like that, I ask myself the question, like, if I had that much money that felt reasonable to me to spend on a vehicle, would I buy this car? And, you know, if it's me, then no, I'd probably just buy a politician and then I'd import something cheap and small from Europe. But I'm not going to be able to do that. And if I had that much money, then sure, this is a vehicle I could actually see myself living with because it is so competent.
I can't justify spending $120,000 on any car. And I feel like we've come full circle. We came to this location for a reason, because this is where we filmed with the Hummer EV. And I have that same attitude. It's a fun drive, but it's obscene in terms of the price, in terms of the performance. No reasonable person needs to do 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, right?
I mean, if you want to take it on a track, then 0 to 60 in 3 and a bit seconds is great.
But if you're going to take it on a track, I would hope that you would have common sense not to have the interior that this car has. For my money, if I had $120,000 to spend and I had to spend it on a car, like you, I wouldn't naturally want to spend that much money on a car. But if I had to spend it on a car, I would buy the EV6 GT, right, at 70 grand gone. And then I've still got 50 grand for whatever floats my boat in that 50 grand segment. And there are some really good cars in that 50 grand segment.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things about it that really surprised me is a lot of these vehicles, when you change from one driving mode to another, yeah, you get a bit of a difference. But this, it's really distinctive, and it's a really surprising experience, because you go from comfort mode, which is comfortable, drives like a regular SUV but holds the road well, and you stick it in Sport or Sport Plus, and its character changes really distinctly.
So, if you are somebody who likes really expensive things, if you're somebody for whom, you know, paying, I'm guessing it would be close to $1,500 or $1,600, maybe even $2,000 a month to finance this, maybe less if you lease it, then this is a car that you should consider buying if you like the finer things in life. I mean, it's typified by that watch in the dash.
Yeah.
If you look at that watch and go, yeah, I'll buy a couple,
Yeah.
this is the car for you. However, I would be remiss if I didn't at least acknowledge that most people just look at this and go, yeah, it's a really expensive car for a person who really doesn't have to be financially constrained at this time. And I know Mercedes-Benz is a luxury maker, and I know we're reviewing this because it allows us to review more affordable cars. That's how this game works.
It only works that way when we actually get more affordable cars in the market.
We're just not seeing it. And with recent announcements from automakers on pushing back on EVs, I feel that this car is going to become a testament to what the auto industry decided to build when what we really needed was something different. Thanks to the amazing list of people scrolling by on your screen right now. They are some of the more than 1,500 people who help fund this channel through Patreon and YouTube, helping us cover our bills, pay our team, and making sure that we can remain 100% independent. If you'd like to join them and see your name listed below, just follow the links. There are a range of different tiers you can sign up for, from as little as $1 a month, or if you pay yearly, just about $10.08 a year. A huge welcome to our newest supporters: Conrad Young, Neon Frog, Siobhan Greeny, Alan Savage, Scotty, Ray Mario, Jennifer, Nesklova, and the Lord of Chaos. Thanks for becoming part of the TE crew. If you'd like to support us with a one-off donation, you'll find links below to make Ko-fi and Bitcoin donations, and we even have an old-fashioned PO box you can reach us at. The address is also linked below. And if you're in need of some swag, you'll find our swag store also in the down below. We've got some great content coming up, so make sure you're subscribed on PeerTube or YouTube, and we'll see you again soon. We make new videos every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If you want more, the mighty algorithm thinks you'll like this video, but we here also think that this one is well worth a look. See you soon, and as always,
keep evolving.